The rotate tool is one of a series of tools that are considered transform tools that are shown in these blue boxes here in the toolbox. The rotate tool allows you to rotate your object so that you can make things that are standing up, lying down, and vice versa. Let's take a look at some of the options. With all the transform tools, you first must tell it whether you are working with a layer, with a selection, or with a path. In this case, we'll be working with a layer. I've got this red box here with the green border and the yellow stripes and the black line here, and that's what we'll be working with. And the layer is cropped into just that box, as you can see. We've got the direction, which has a normal and a corrective, a forward and backwards. For the most part, forward is going to be the more intuitive setting, but sometimes the backward setting can be useful. We've got the interpolation box here, which gives you a number of options for how GIMP can apply the effect. For the most part, they start at the top here with the quickest methods, the least processor intensive methods, and but also the lowest quality, and they go up so that the ones at the bottom are higher quality but might take a little bit longer for GIMP to apply. For the most part, I find Cubic works pretty well. It gives you a good result, and it doesn't take too long, but if you have a particularly slow computer, or if you are playing around and applying this effect over and over again very quickly, you might want to use none or linear. The clipping tells GIMP whether or not you want to clip the final transformed object, and we'll look at that a little bit later. The show image preview allows you to see your result before you actually apply it, and this opacity slider allows you, if you turn it down a little so that there's some opacity, it will allow you to see not only a preview of what the image will look like, but it will also allow you to see the original image underneath. Then we have a guide section. You can set your guides to any number of different options. Here is just how it gives you guidelines. If you have it set to number of lines, it will also allow you to dial in the number of lines. This will give you a grid to give you a better sense of how the effect will be applied. And then finally, we have this 15 degrees, which will limit your rotation into 15-degree increments. So let's take a look at how it works. You just simply come over to the layer that you want to rotate and just click and drag. This dialog box will pop up, and we can move it out of the way so that we can see what we're doing a little bit better. And if we want to, we can dial in our effect here in the dialog box. We can rotate it with this angle. We've also got this center option, which we can either click and drag here, or we can dial in with these center arrows, X and Y coordinates. This basically just allows you to adjust where your center of the rotation will be. So in this case, we're simply rotating the image around on itself right in the center. But if we wanted to, we could drag this down to the corner of our image, and now as we rotate it, it will rotate around the corner. We can even drag this point off of our image altogether to another point on the canvas. But let's just, we'll actually reset it here. The reset allows you to undo any changes you've made without applying them. So let's take a look at the 15-degree marker here. If we click that, you'll notice that as we rotate, it snaps into 15-degree increments. This can be useful if you are trying to get a precise rotation. You can also type in your precise rotation up here, and it doesn't have to be in 15-degree increments. And let's go back, and if we go back and look at the corrective mode, when you set it into corrective mode, you'll notice that you don't see a preview of your final result, because what GIMP is actually going to do is, instead of taking your original image and rotating it along these guidelines, it's going to use these guidelines as the starting point and take the information from the original image with these guidelines and rotate it back to the original selection area. So that sounds a little confusing, but basically it is just the reverse. So if we rotate this up like this, you'll see that when we hit the rotate button, it will actually rotate our image in the opposite direction by that much. Okay, let's just undo that, and then we'll look at the clipping options. If you have it set to adjust, you will not get clipping, essentially, unless it goes off of your canvas. So when you rotate it and you apply it, you can just hit enter to apply it. You'll see that we've got the entire original selection, and the selection box has grown to accommodate it. If we undo that, we can set it to clip, and now our selection box will stay the same size, and anything that falls outside of that selection box when we apply the effect will simply be removed from our image. So we apply that, and now we have that. If we undo that, we've got two more options. We have a crop to result. This will crop in so that we still have a square with no areas that fall outside of our original selection. So it will crop in and to create a square within our image, like that. So nothing outside of our original image is within the selection, but we've cropped in. And then we've got the crop with aspect, which is essentially the same as the last cropping option, but it will be sure to maintain the original aspect ratio. So if we apply that, oh, it did not actually do what I expected. So apparently that is going to function more like the adjust mode. So, but that is not how it generally works with the other transform tools. So those are the options when it comes to transforming your object. It's actually pretty simple, pretty easy to use. These options can make it seem a little bit intimidating, but for the most part, you just select your object and click and drag.